There's something magnetic about a man who doesn't chase, who doesn't beg, who doesn't even flinch under pressure, and yet women chase him. Why? Because he understands something most men never learn: the power of Stoic psychology. He's not playing games, he's playing life, and the game bends around him. Today, I'm giving you 3 psychological tricks, proven, powerful, and quietly dangerous, that make women chase you, not because you're pretending to be someone you're not, but because you're finally becoming the man she instinctively can't ignore. The power of strategic indifference: he who angers you conquers you. Elizabeth Kenny: Stoic men don't react to drama, they don't flinch at tests. They remain grounded. Indifference isn't about being cold, it's about being centered. When you don't give instant emotional reactions, women start chasing clarity. They start chasing validation. They chase you. Because your emotional self-control becomes the mystery they crave to solve. Controlled absence builds desire. When you withdraw with purpose, not ghosting, but pulling back with power, you activate scarcity. What's scarce becomes valuable. She starts to wonder, where is he? Who is he with? Why isn't he all over me like other guys? That's the void you create when you walk away with confidence instead of clinging with fear. Women don't chase the always available. They chase the man who can walk away without fear. Be like the cliff against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water. Marcus Aurelius: Stoic men are challengers, not chasers. They don't seek approval, they seek alignment. They don't try to impress, they impress by simply being. You want to make her chase you, don't make things easy. Challenge her to meet your standard, not by force, but by being the standard. This isn't about manipulating women. This is about becoming the man she naturally gravitates to, not because you begged for her attention, but because your presence demands it. Be the man who remains grounded in chaos. The man who walks away when needed, the man who doesn't chase, but is chased. That's the Stoic secret, and now it's yours. Emotional indifference sparks curiosity and attraction because it goes against what most people expect in the early stages of interaction. In a world where validation is handed out like candy and attention is constantly poured into conversations and social media, a man who doesn't immediately respond with excitement or urgency becomes intriguing. Emotional indifference isn't about being cold-hearted or emotionally unavailable. It's about remaining grounded, unreactive, and centered in your own value regardless of who is in front of you. It's the refusal to give your emotions away easily, especially to someone who hasn't yet earned them. That's what makes it so powerful. When a woman meets a man, she's not just scanning for looks or charm, she's scanning for emotional strength. She's asking herself subconsciously, can this man hold his ground when I test him? Can he stay composed when I push his buttons? Is his attention too easy to get? The average man reacts. He becomes too eager. He replies too fast. He gives too much praise too early. He shows all his emotional cards before she's even made a move. But the man who practices emotional indifference is different. He's not rude. He's just not overly impressed. He can appreciate her beauty without worshipping it. He can enjoy her company without clinging to it. That's what makes her lean in. There's a primal allure in someone who doesn't need you. It triggers a biological and psychological reaction. We're wired to chase what doesn't immediately surrender to us. Emotional indifference works because it doesn't hand over emotional validation on a silver platter. And when that validation doesn't come easily, a woman begins to chase it. She starts wondering, why isn't he reacting the way others do? Why do I feel like I haven't figured him out yet? That mystery, born out of calm and unshaken presence, starts turning into curiosity. And curiosity is a powerful doorway to emotional investment. When you don't instantly show neediness or excessive emotional response, she starts questioning her own level of attraction. This questioning makes her think about you more. And the more she thinks about you, the more emotionally involved she becomes. This is the paradox. When you emotionally pull back, you create a vacuum. That vacuum isn't empty. It's filled with questions, intrigue, and the desire to understand you. Emotional indifference doesn't mean being robotic or distant. It means not being emotionally controlled by the moment. It means not acting out of fear, insecurity, or approval seeking. What many men don't understand is that chasing is not only about physical pursuit. It's also about emotional availability. When you give too much emotional energy early, you flood the interaction. You don't give space for mystery. You remove the thrill, but when you hold back just enough, when you let your presence speak louder than your reactions, something changes. You become the person she wants to win over. Your validation becomes a reward instead of a given. That reward becomes valuable because it's rare. Emotional indifference is what creates that rarity. It also communicates confidence at a deep level. If you're not reacting, it means you're not desperate. If you're not constantly giving attention, it means you have options. If you're not emotionally swayed by every word or look, it means your worth isn't tied to external approval. This subtle message gets communicated through your silence, your pace, your pauses, and your tone. You're not rushing, you're not chasing, you're simply being asterisk, and that being is what women chase when it's wrapped in mystery, power, and self-possession. So while most men are stuck trying to prove themselves, the emotionally indifferent man becomes the proof. He becomes the reward, and in doing so, he triggers the very thing women rarely get to feel asterisk, the urge to chase asterisk. Scarcity through absence increases perceived value because human psychology is wired to assign greater importance to what is rare or hard to attain. This principle applies not just to objects or opportunities, but also to people. When a man is constantly available, texting back instantly, always free, always trying to initiate plans, his presence becomes expected, predictable, and eventually undervalued. But when that same man begins to pull back strategically, not in a manipulative way but from a place of grounded self-respect, his absence creates a noticeable gap. That gap does something powerful. It makes the woman realize his value by feeling the weight of his missing presence. Most men fear being absent. They believe that if they're not constantly around, she'll lose interest or forget about them. But the truth is, consistent overexposure often kills attraction faster than distance ever could. Think about luxury goods, VIP access, or even childhood toys you couldn't get your hands on. The more unavailable something was, the more you obsessed over it, the more you wanted it. The human mind fixates on what it can't easily grasp. That's the psychology at work here. When a woman starts to notice that you're not always online, that you're not flooding her with attention, that you're busy living a life of purpose, a shift happens. She starts thinking about you, and thinking leads to feeling. Absence allows space for desire to grow. When you're always present, there's no room for her imagination to fill in the blanks. But when you step back, she begins to wonder, what is he doing? Who is he with? Why isn't he reaching out? That curiosity is the seed of emotional attachment. You create tension, not the bad kind, but the type of emotional tension that builds anticipation. And anticipation is the heartbeat of attraction. Anyone can be present. But few can be missed. Scarcity through absence turns you into someone who is missed. It also sends a subtle but strong message. You have your own life. You're not sitting around waiting for her text. You have priorities, passions, goals. You're grounded enough in your identity that you don't need constant reassurance from her. This kind of self-containment is magnetic. It creates a dynamic where she starts to feel lucky to be a part of your world, rather than feeling like she's the center of it, and that shift in perception is exactly what draws her in deeper. The more she feels she has to earn your time, the more she values it. And by valuing your time, she begins to value you. Absence isn't about ignoring her or playing childish games. It's about being intentional. Maybe you don't text every day. Maybe you let a conversation rest for a bit. Maybe you say no to a hangout because you're busy working on yourself. These aren't acts of manipulation. They're signs of discipline. They show that you're not addicted to validation or attention. You're present when it matters, but you're also not afraid to step back. And when you step back, She gets the opportunity to realize how much your presence actually matters. Ironically, your silence often says more than your words ever could. In that silence, she starts to evaluate what your presence means to her. She remembers how she felt when you were around. She begins to crave that energy again, not because you forced it, but because you removed it. That's the paradox of absence. When done right, it doesn't create distance. It pulls her closer, it makes her chase, because suddenly your presence is no longer something she can take for granted. It's something she desires. Scarcity, when born from true purpose, doesn't weaken connection. It strengthens it by reminding her that you are a man of value, not a man begging to be chosen. Calm confidence makes you the challenge she wants to conquer because it signals a level of inner mastery that most people never achieve. While many men try to impress with loud bravado, flashy gestures, or overcompensating behavior, the man who walks into a room with quiet certainty stands out without saying a word. His posture, his tone, his deliberate movements all reflect something deeper. He is not performing, he is simply present. That presence, that stillness in the chaos, becomes a mystery, and that mystery is incredibly attractive. It sends a message, I am whole with or without you. That energy becomes a challenge, not in a confrontational way, but in a magnetic way that makes a woman instinctively want to understand, explore, and win over that calm core. Women are emotionally tuned creatures. They pick up on subtle cues faster than most men realize. They notice when a man is trying too hard, when he's overinvesting, when he's eager to please because he fears rejection. They sense neediness and it instantly lowers his value, but calm confidence is the antidote to that. It doesn't push, it doesn't pull, it just is asterisk. A calm man doesn't speak to impress. He speaks with purpose. He doesn't brag, he lets his actions speak. He doesn't chase validation. He's anchored in self-respect. That energy feels rare, and what's rare becomes a pursuit. When a woman encounters a man like this, her typical scripts don't work. If she flirts and he doesn't react the way other men do, if he holds eye contact but doesn't lean in desperately, she starts to wonder, why doesn't he seem affected by me? That question becomes the spark. Because for most of her life, she's used to men crumbling under her beauty or charm. But when a man doesn't flinch, when he remains composed and authentic, it unsettles her expectations in the most intriguing way. She starts leaning in, testing further, hoping for some glimpse of emotional reaction. But he remains grounded. That's not coldness, that's powerful self-command, and that's the challenge she didn't know she wanted. Calm confidence also creates emotional safety. It tells her that this is a man who won't be rattled under pressure, who can lead without dominating, who can stay present in difficult moments. This kind of steadiness is not only rare, it's valuable. In a world of emotional volatility, a man who controls his inner world becomes someone she wants to be around, and the more she experiences that stability, the more she craves it. But because he doesn't overextend himself, she realizes she can't just take his attention for granted. She has to earn it, and earning it becomes a form of chasing. The challenge is not in games or manipulation. The challenge is in the man's standards, in his calm refusal to settle, in his steady focus on purpose over approval. That makes him unpredictable in the best way. She can't predict his next move because he's not reacting to her. He's responding to life on his own terms, and that unpredictability, wrapped in stillness and confidence, makes him unforgettable. He doesn't have to prove anything. His calm proves everything. He doesn't need to be loud. His energy fills the room. He doesn't need to chase her, because his mere existence becomes something she wants to chase. That's the truth about calm confidence. It doesn't just attract, it magnetizes. It makes her feel something she doesn't feel with most men, inspired to pursue. Because deep down, every woman wants a man who doesn't fold under pressure, who doesn't need her to feel valuable, and who lives from a place of unshakable strength. When you become that man, you stop being the one chasing, and you become the challenge she's excited to conquer. Stoic men don't overinvest because they understand that their value doesn't increase by giving more than what's required or deserved. They recognize that attention, energy, time, and emotional presence are currencies. And like any currency, when it's given away too freely, its value drops. Overinvesting, especially early on, is often a sign of fear, not strength. It's driven by the belief that if they don't give everything, they'll lose the woman or fail to impress her. But the Stoic man operates from a different mindset. He knows that his worth is not measured by how much he gives, but by how carefully he chooses to give. He invests wisely, not emotionally. Most men overinvest because they equate effort with results. They think the more they call, text, compliment, pursue, or accommodate, the more a woman will feel attracted. But attraction doesn't grow through overexposure. It grows through balance. When a man gives too much, especially before the woman has reciprocated, he unconsciously tells her that he values her more than himself. That imbalance kills tension, it removes the mystery, and it creates a dynamic where she feels in control of the relationship from the start. Stoic men avoid this trap. They are generous but not needy, kind but not desperate, interested but not obsessed. By not overinvesting, Stoic men create space. And space is where a woman's interest grows. She starts wondering what he's thinking, where his head is at, what he sees in her, and why he isn't trying so hard like everyone else. That subtle tension becomes powerful. It activates her curiosity and encourages her to match his level of investment. When a man gives just enough to spark interest, but not so much that it smothers the flame, he positions himself as someone of high value. Someone who chooses, not someone begging to be chosen. Stoic men also understand that true connection can't be forced. If she's not showing genuine interest, he won't try to win her over with excessive gifts, compliments, or time. He'll step back, he'll observe, he'll wait for reciprocation before he deepens his emotional or physical commitment. That's not cold, that's intelligent. It protects his self-worth and ensures that he's building something based on mutual desire, not imbalance. He doesn't rush. He doesn't force compatibility. And because of that, the woman feels the weight of his attention when he finally gives it. It means something. It's rare, and it's deeply respected. Another reason Stoic men don't overinvest is because they have a life of purpose. Their focus isn't solely on women or relationships. They're building something, physically, emotionally, spiritually. They're investing in their own evolution. That sense of purpose naturally limits how much emotional bandwidth they give to someone who hasn't earned it. They don't chase validation because they're already validated by their mission. And that mission becomes attractive in itself. A man who doesn't give everything away too quickly creates the perception that his time is valuable, and a woman who wants to be part of that world has to rise to meet it. In relationships, overinvesting often leads to resentment. A man pours everything in, expecting love or appreciation in return, and when it doesn't come back equally, he feels used or undervalued. Stoic men avoid this emotional trap by keeping their emotional spending in check. They understand that real love is mutual, not transactional, so they move with intention, not impulse. They give what is appropriate, what is matched, what is genuine, but they never try to buy love through excessive effort. And in doing so, they protect their integrity and amplify their desirability. A Stoic man's restraint isn't weakness, it's control. It's knowing that real strength isn't in doing more to be loved, but in doing less to be respected. And that restraint makes every investment he does make feel earned, rare, and powerful. Mystery outperforms availability in creating obsession because the human mind is naturally drawn to what it can't fully understand. What is predictable becomes routine, and what is routine becomes forgettable. But when someone feels just out of reach, when they leave questions unanswered and emotions partially stirred, it activates a deep psychological urge to solve the puzzle. In relationships, especially during the early stages of attraction, availability can feel comforting, but it rarely sparks obsession. Obsession is born from the unknown, the unpredictable, the what if, that lingers long after an interaction has ended. That's where mystery thrives, and that's why it's so powerful. Men who are always available, always open books, often believe they're building trust or showing commitment. But instead, they remove all suspense. They remove all space for imagination. When everything is revealed too quickly, intentions, emotions, daily routines, it leaves nothing to be discovered, and without discovery there is no chase. Without a chase there is no tension. And without tension there is no obsession. Mystery, on the other hand, creates emotional tension by not satisfying all curiosity at once. It keeps a woman thinking, replaying moments, trying to figure out what you're thinking, where you stand, and what makes you tick. It's in the gaps that desire grows, the space between messages, the pauses before a response, the moments of silence that leave her wondering. These aren't empty, they're charged. They allow her to imagine scenarios, to create emotional narratives in her mind. And those narratives make you more memorable than constant availability ever could. The truth is, people chase what they don't fully understand. When you're mysterious, you become a puzzle, something that feels like it needs to be figured out. And when a woman is trying to figure you out, she's thinking about you more. She's invested emotionally, even if she doesn't realize it yet. Mystery also suggests depth. A man who doesn't reveal everything immediately signals that there's more beneath the surface. He's not desperate for approval. He's not seeking immediate validation. He's comfortable keeping parts of himself reserved, and that reservation becomes fascinating. Women start to think there's something different about him, even if they can't explain it. That difference is the gap between knowing and not knowing, and that gap keeps her engaged. The more she's intrigued, the more she imagines, and imagination is often more powerful than reality when it comes to creating emotional intensity. On the other hand, full availability often triggers the opposite effect. When someone is always accessible, always responding instantly, always making time no matter what, it starts to feel less like devotion and more like neediness. It makes the person feel too eager, too predictable, too easy to read, and when you're easy to read, you become easy to move past. That's the risk of being too available too soon. It removes all the wonder. It strips away the unknown, and the unknown is where desire lives. Mystery isn't about playing games or being emotionally manipulative, it's about self-control. It's about not spilling your whole life story on the first few dates. It's about not always answering texts immediately. It's about being intentional with your presence and knowing when to step back so she can feel your absence. It's about letting your actions speak louder than your explanations, and letting her curiosity do some of the emotional lifting. When done authentically, this creates a rhythm of interest that keeps building. She thinks about you in the quiet moments, she wonders about you during the day, and slowly she becomes emotionally invested, not because of what you gave her, but because of what you didn't. Mystery is the fire that keeps her imagination burning. It's the unknown that keeps her wanting more, and once that desire is awakened, obsession isn't far behind. Being unshaken under pressure makes you unforgettable because it reveals a rare kind of strength that most people crave but seldom encounter. In a world where emotional reactivity is the norm, where people fold under stress and let anxiety dictate their actions, the man who remains calm and composed stands out like a lighthouse in a storm. He becomes the steady ground others instinctively trust. His stillness doesn't signal indifference, it signals mastery. It tells the world, and more importantly, the woman observing him, that he's not ruled by circumstance. He's ruled by principle, clarity, and control, and that kind of presence leaves a permanent impression. Women, whether consciously or subconsciously, look for cues of leadership, emotional safety, and resilience in a man. When chaos arises, when someone cuts you off in traffic, when a plan falls through, when emotions are running high, how you respond says everything. The man who gets flustered, who lashes out, who becomes passive, aggressive, or visibly shaken, shows that he's not in command of his inner world. But the man who keeps his tone steady, who breathes deeply, who chooses his words rather than spills them carelessly, broadcasts a different message entirely. I am not afraid of the moment. I am built for it. This psychological composure creates an emotional contrast that women remember. In emotionally charged moments, arguments, misunderstandings, or difficult decisions, most people escalate, but when a man de-escalates through his calm, he creates a space where clarity and connection become possible. He becomes someone she doesn't just admire, she trusts because if he can be calm in pressure with her, she imagines he can be calm in life storms. That's the kind of man a woman wants beside her, not just when things are easy, but especially when they're not. Calm under pressure also signals that a man is deeply grounded in himself. He isn't looking for validation in how others react. He's not shifting with every mood in the room. He operates from an internal code, not external chaos. That independence is compelling. It hints at discipline, maturity, and wisdom. A woman will naturally lean into the energy of a man who doesn't need to be loud to be heard or aggressive to be strong. His strength is felt in the quiet force of his restraint. That restraint, ironically, holds more power than any display of dominance ever could. There's something magnetic about someone who doesn't break when things get hard. In that moment, he becomes more than just another man. He becomes a symbol of stability, and symbols last longer in memory than moments do. Long after the details fade, she'll remember how you handled things. She'll remember how you made her feel safe even when everything felt uncertain. She'll remember the weight of your silence when others were shouting. That impression, built not through words but presence, becomes etched in her mind. Being unshaken under pressure doesn't mean you suppress emotion or avoid conflict. It means you have the emotional awareness to navigate it with intention. It means you don't react to everything. You respond to what matters. And your ability to do so tells her everything about your character. When you stay calm, you give her permission to be calm. You become the anchor in the storm, and because most men can't offer that kind of presence, the one who can becomes unforgettable. Ultimately, your behavior under pressure becomes your reputation, and reputations are built slowly but remembered forever. When a woman sees that you don't collapse under stress, she knows she's dealing with someone who can be trusted in the moments that truly count. She won't just be attracted. She'll feel safe, intrigued, and deeply connected. And that connection, born in the fire of pressure, is the kind that doesn't fade. It's the kind that lingers. It's the kind she never forgets. So if you want women to chase you, don't try to impress her. Impress yourself with your discipline, your restraint, your inner calm. Emotional indifference creates mystery. Scarcity raises your value. Calm confidence makes you the challenge she wants to conquer. These aren't games. They are reflections of a man who's mastered himself. And when you stop seeking validation and start living from your power, women feel it. They notice, they lean in, not because you chased, but because your presence pulled them in. Be that man and you'll never need to chase again. You'll simply attract . So if you truly want to make women chase you, stop trying to prove your worth and start living like you know it. Emotional indifference isn't about being cold, it's about being centered. Scarcity isn't about playing hard to get. It's about being a man of focus, purpose, and value, and calm confidence. That's the quiet power that makes her lean in while everyone else fades into the background. Stoic men don't manipulate, they master themselves, and in that mastery they become magnetic, because the truth is, when you stop chasing, when you stop needing, and when you show up fully grounded in who you are, women don't just notice you, they pursue you. Become that man, not for her, but for yourself, and watch how the world, including the women in it, begins to respond.